Coming soon. I just before I came here, in fact, because if we make pet vitamins, obviously they can't come in capsules. So what we want to do for pet vitamins, we also want to do what we do for humans. We want to limit the additives in the product. So what we're going to do with pet vitamins is they'll come in little packets, like little sugar packets.
Okay.
So whether it's a joint product or an eye product or whatever it might be, it's even marine collagen, glucosamine, these are things that are beneficial that I give Lincoln and Marcel. So what we're going to do is have them in little packets. It will be the most affordable way to create them, and all you do is you sprinkle the product into their food. So Lincoln and Marcel, and actually I just got my mom a little puppy.
Oh, did you? What kind?
Same as Lincoln and Marcel.
Mike.
And
name?
Lincoln was a mistake originally. He was an Australian Shepherd Poodle that was an accident. And then that person has only been breeding a few litters of Australian Shepherd Poodles every year since then.
Wow.
And so that's Marcel. And my mom's puppy is called Buddy. So he's a little bit smaller than Marcel, so little Buddy.
I love it.
Yep, so my mom has a new pup.
We'll need to see some pictures of Buddy as well.
Well, I'll be meeting him when I get back because he's only about 9 weeks old. My mom just got him.
And what color is he going to be?
He's sort of a cross between Lincoln and Marcel in terms of color. And he's only going to be about 15 pounds. My mom wanted a smaller dog so she could pick it up and handle it. But Lincoln is about 35 pounds and Marcel is about 30 pounds now, fully grown. And Buddy will be about 15 pounds. So we have a new addition to the brood.
Oh, we love it. Well, we'll look forward to seeing pictures.
Yes. So we will be, it's going to take a while. The machine has to be calibrated and installed and calibrated and things like that. But I'm hoping we'll start introducing some basic products, things like Friendly Flora, an eye product, all different things that focus on different systems for our dogs. There'll probably at most be a half a dozen products or so, but they'll be coming out. They'll be additive free, of course.
And forgive me, because Judy, I missed what Judy also said. Judy's asking, can we sprinkle your caps now on their food?
That's exactly what I was talking about this the other day. With Lincoln and Marcel, Lincoln has always gotten, at least a few times a week, about a quarter of a capsule of Ultimate Eye. I give him a capsule of glucosamine every day, glucosamine chondroitin every day, 1 capsule, but Lincoln weighs 35 pounds. Also, occasionally when he's out running trails with me and things, and he might drink from a stream, I give him Ultimate Friendly Flora. So the ones I really focus on with Lincoln are things like the Ultimate Eye, joints. I put marine collagen in their water pretty much every other day. So it's the systems that we focus on, and certainly our pets, their aging process is even more accelerated than our own. So as I talk about my products, I generally talk about the fact that it's our choice how gracefully we're going to age. So that's what our products are really all about. Our healthy diet enhances the grace with which we age, and intelligent dietary supplementation can do the same. And the same applies to our dogs.
And that's maybe the perfect segue to our next very brief presentation on Fibermucil, a fiber product that people love, which seems just like a crazy statement, but it is true with nearly 1,000 5-star reviews. Andrew, people have come to love this.
Well, fiber, again, I think one of the things I have going for me is that so many products that are currently out on the market are so unpleasant to use that when someone stumbles upon a vitamin, and of all places stumbles upon a vitamin on television, I've now been doing this 28 years on television, but I remember when I was first doing this and people would say, I'd say I'm offering vitamins on television, saying, well, are you going to be offering eggs, milk, and butter on television next? That it just seemed so strange. And certainly nowadays we buy just about anything and everything. So it's interesting that fiber is one of those products that is highly unpleasant to use when it's not created correctly. And then even when you look at a lot of the fiber drinks that you see at drugstores or supermarkets and things like that, the fiber beverages in that aisle of the store, many of them contain forms of fiber that are nothing more than byproducts of wood pulp metabolism. Wood pulping sort of industry, sort of hydroxypropyl methylcellulose or maltodextrin or things like that, that these are not what I consider natural sources of fiber. What we have here is just an ultra-fine powder of the husk of psyllium seed. It's just psyllium husk fiber. Ours is just as processed as cleanly as possible, and it's designed to be as gentle as possible. No gas, no bloating. It's one of those products that to use it is to appreciate it and to never want to be without it.
We're going to head over this way. A couple of quick ones. Andrew, somebody was asking, forgive me, I've lost their name, but somebody was asking if you've done any research